Okay, to deploy the test, you're going to want to go back to where we created it. So usually by default I created it in this folder. It's going to show up all the way on the bottom. Maybe it didn't. Okay. So I'm going to put it on this page by clicking again on test. And now this time it gives me the option. It shows me that I have a test created that I did. I didn't lose my work, which is good. So I'll click on that instead of create a brand new one. And then I'll get the test back again. Now the test is actually on the place you want your students to see it. It's not just in your course management tools sitting in a folder test. It's actually going to show to the students now, but you have to go down. This is the description one. And most importantly, you have to check these boxes. This is where you actually assign time and other conditions. So on the bottom of number 1, it asks to open test in new window. If you want the students not to have to be within the class environment when they take this test, you can choose it to open in a new window so they can come back to their original window. And to do that, you would just click yes here. To me, it's not important, so I'm going to stick with the default, but I'm going to make it available. That's how you are going to make it visible to students. Important questions underneath are add a new announcement to the test, and that will automatically show that there's a test available and the dates that it's available until when it's available. There's a choice of multiple attempts depending on your pedagogy, your area, etc. You might want to offer unlimited number of attempts, or perhaps just 2 attempts per question, or none. You might want to click on forced completion, but a little caveat about forced completion means that each time your student gets a question, they must answer it. The minute they try to go backwards, that's actually not backwards, but the minute that they close their browser, the test is gone and they will not be able to re-enter it. So the forced completion, the pros for forced completion are that you can have the student sit for the allowed amount of time and just finish the entire test. But the cons of that are if the student has to walk away due to some kind of, I don't know, distraction or even emergency, the test will be gone. You'll have to reopen it for that student or students. So be careful about choosing that one. A timer is important if you're doing, remember they've kind of collapsed now timed assessments together with tests, whether timed or not. So that's the new vocabulary for this software. So let's say I want my test, my final is 2 hours. So I'm going to set this for 2 hours. And I don't have to check display after or display until unless I want to. If I just want it to show up and sort of be unlimited. But if you do want it to be available during a certain week, which would be for my class, or a certain day, then absolutely you're going to want to check when you want it to display with the little pop-up calendar and at what time. And then at what time it will not be displayed anymore, and it will show, you'll be able to see it as an instructor, but your students won't be able to see it. It'll say test is unavailable. Finally, under number 2, it's a rather heavy little area here. If you click on password, that means the students must have a password in order to take the test. So that's another level you might choose of protection for the test. But of course, passwords can be shared, so you have to kind of consider that as well. Sometimes that password will come into play if you have to give a special accommodation for a student that might need more time, or perhaps you only want one student. I had an instructor who asked me, I have certain levels that a student must complete before they can take their test. So that's where a password can become very handy. You can give the password only at the time when the student has done a number of tasks prior to it, and then they can enter the password at that point and get into the test. Automatically in number 3, the test is going to be included in the grade center. I'm not really sure why you wouldn't want it to be, but you can uncheck that. And so you can hide results completely from instructor and grade center. And this, I'm not really sure of a scenario where that would be necessary, but I can imagine there could be a scenario. The feedback that the students will get is automatically their score. That will just, if you have, let's say, 100 points available for that test, if they get 80, they'll see their score, 80 out of 100. If you also want them to see what they submitted themselves, you'll want to click on Submit Answers. If you want them to see the correct answers and the feedback that you filled into those boxes, you'll also want to check those boxes. Under 5, this is what I was getting to about backtracking. The test presentation, meaning how it's delivered to the student. So by default, it's all at once. The student can go as fast or as slow as they want. They can go rush through the questions, they can go slowly through the questions, they can go backwards, forwards, whatever. You might, however, want the screen to be clean, and you only want them to see one question at a time instead of a list of questions that they have to click in. And for some students, this is a little bit more tidy. One question, move on, question 2, move on, question 3. Prohibit backtracking, however, is again something you want to carefully consider. What this means is it's separate from the one where if they get out of the browser window, the test shuts down for them. This is specifically if you're delivering each question one at a time, then they can't go backwards. I know when I took a GRE, I couldn't go backwards. So you have to answer a question and go forwards. So if that's something that you want to do. And then randomizing questions will, if you allow more than one attempt at the question, then it's going to give them a different question each time to kind of change it up a little bit. So I could see that possibly as sort of kind of preventing cheating a little bit. But the ultimate way to prevent a student copying a ditto of the same test from another student is to create what's called a test pool. A test pool are extra questions and answers from a larger pool. Let's say you have 10 questions in a test and you have a database or a folder filled with 50 questions, and each student will get a different 10 in random order. That's a really nice way to prevent cheating if these are primarily the mode of the grade. That's primarily what they're going to be doing in the class, is taking tests. That's a really good function. However, it does take some planning in creating a bank or a library of questions. So you do have to do that ahead of time. So once I've made my decisions here, I can see my test probably at the bottom, because by default it always places everything at the bottom. And there's my test. And you can see the test icon at the bottom shows a pencil with kind of little bullets that you can fill in. So that's the icon for indicating it's a test. And again, as the instructor, you can always go back in here and edit the test. You can also, in here, go to edit the test options again. You can see they kind of go back and forward in a loop. If I go backwards, it'll let me. Go back down there again. I can select adaptive release advanced. It's very common that we have students that need time and a half, they have special accommodations, and this is a nice way of accommodating our particular student or group of students. So in here, again, you can choose adaptive release means who and when they can see the test. So under number 1, that's that same function that we had in the other window, which is display after and display until. But here now, let's say I want to give one student time and a half. If I click on, I'll do that again. If I click on browse, this is a username. I can actually let one student at a time take the test, or I can make one version of the test longer than the other for a student. So this is really handy. So under browse, you simply go into username, last name, to search for whatever students you want to give special accommodations to. So I'll put my own last name because I believe I'm in there as a student, but maybe not. So that would be my last name. I just did. Okay, so me as instructor and student shows up. So let's say I'm going to give my Cathy student this test. Now you'll notice her username appears in the user box. And another way obviously, is you can put a whole group. Let's say you have groups that are going to take a test in one group and then another group. You can, if you have groups or any assignments in here that you want to select and move over, you can do that. And then you can also do a lot more things like what the grade center column you want it to look like. User has at least one attempt for this item, and you can even set parameters such as if they score below X, then they can, you know, have this or take it again or whatever. And then here you can also create review status, and they can it will show that their test has been reviewed.